Hello everyone, today I will be reviewing Chinatown. Chinatown was directed by Roman Polanski and stars Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway, and it came out in 1974, and the film is set in 1930s Los Angeles. So in this film we see Jack Nicholson plays a private eye detective called Jake Gittes, and a woman comes to him, Evelyn Mulwray, and says that she thinks her husband is cheating on her. So Jake, he goes to investigate, and he later finds out that the woman who said she was Mrs. Mulwray wasn't actually Mrs. Mulwray, she was actually somebody else. So Jake meets the real Mrs. Mulwray and later ends up getting caught up in this real scheme of corruption and lies and deceit. And we later find out that Mr. Mulwray is murdered or has been found murdered. And Evelyn Mulwray, the real Evelyn Mulwray, played by Faye Dunaway, her father could also be involved, and her father is played by the director John Huston. So from what I've just said, you can probably tell that the plot of this film isn't very straightforward. It is actually quite a complicated plot, and it's far too complicated for me to explain just in this video. But if you pay attention, you can understand what's going on. It is a very clever film. In fact, actually, the first time I watched this film, I didn't completely understand everything that was going on. I just had to go with it really, and just go with the flow and try and understand it the best I could. So I watched it last night, and I was having to pay attention to almost every bit of dialogue, every little thing that was happening, because this is a film where there's lots going on at once, and you have to really focus on what's going on in order to understand everything. But it is very well done, and the screenplay for this is very clever. It's actually an original screenplay for this film. In fact, this film was nominated for lots of Oscars, but it only won one Oscar, and that was the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, which is well deserved. The reason that it didn't win lots of other Oscars was because it came out in the same year as The Godfather Part 2. So obviously Chinatown was up against another fantastic film that year to compete for award nominations. Now, one of the things that I do like about this film is the music. So the film score is done by Jerry Goldsmith, and it's just the perfect sound of 1930s Los Angeles, that mystery, that intrigue in the air. It really is a fantastic score. It's always in the background. It's never in your face, and it always just fits so perfectly with the film. I really think it really helps make the film what it is. So this film is described as a neo-noir film. So neo-noir films often came out in the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, and they were reminiscent of film noirs that came out in the 30s, 40s and 50s. The film noir films that came out in the 40s mainly, such as The Big Sleep, The Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, which are always about mystery and intrigue and often to do with murders. And this film almost is reminiscent of those films. So Chinatown, it very much almost could have come out in the 1940s. It fits very well with those films I've just mentioned. And yeah, it really harkens back to that era. So what I do like about this film is the acting. The acting is very good. So Jack Nicholson is one of my favourite actors of all time, and this is probably, well, arguably his best film, or definitely one of his best films. I think I probably prefer One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, his performance in that, to this, but this is definitely one of his best performances. He plays Jake Gittes so well. You constantly want to know what his character says next, or what his character is going to do next. He really holds your interest throughout this film, and he portrays the character very well. He's, well, obviously such a good actor. Jack Nicholson won lots of Oscars, and yeah, one of his best performances in this film. Faye Dunaway is also very good as Evelyn Mulwray, although she doesn't get quite as much screen time as Jack Nicholson does. And we also get John Huston plays Evelyn's father in this, and John Huston was, well, he did some acting like in this film, but he was better known as a film director, and he did lots of films back in the 1940s, ironically quite a lot of film noirs which were around that area. So it's quite interesting seeing him as an actor in this film, when he often fits quite well in this sort of film noir, neo-noir era. And yeah, he does a very good performance in this film, but he doesn't get quite as much screen time as Jack Nicholson or Faye Dunaway. Yeah, so as I said earlier, the plot of the film is quite complicated. So if you're someone who doesn't like films where we have to think quite a lot and have to focus on what's going on, then you might not like this, because if you miss a few scenes, if you're not paying attention the whole time, it can be quite difficult to catch up with what's going on. And often what the character is saying is quite important. There's lots of scenes which are important. Really, every scene is key in this film because everything fits together quite nicely at the end. It's one of those films which wraps up very well, and the ending scene is quite powerful. Ironically, since this film is called Chinatown, there's really only one scene in the film which is set in Chinatown in Los Angeles, and it's, well, really the most important scene in the film really comes towards the end, but really Chinatown is mentioned quite a few times in the film. And Jake Gittes' character, played by Jack Nicholson, he used to work in Chinatown, and he mentions it quite a lot, but he doesn't want to talk about what happened in Chinatown. So the idea is that Jake Gittes has a bad history with Chinatown, and that every time he has done a job in Chinatown or he's worked in Chinatown, it hasn't quite gone his way. And we see it, well, anyway, I won't spoil it for you, but basically the setting of Chinatown is important to the film, but most of the film isn't actually set in Chinatown. It's always hanging in the background in your ear. You know Chinatown is an important theme in this film, even if it isn't the main setting. But really, the setting of this film is fantastic. 1930s Los Angeles. It really does seem like a very interesting to be around that time. And yeah, so the setting is absolutely brilliant and really suits this film very well. It's very nice indeed. So I have to say, I really enjoyed this film. I think Chinatown is very nice. I don't think it's a perfect film. I think it is a little bit slow in places, and sometimes it is quite difficult to understand what's going on exactly. You do really need to focus, but really that's a minor complaint. So I'm going to give the film a 9 out of 10 because I think most people can enjoy it, but you do need to focus quite hard if you want to understand the plot fully. So yeah, rating for Chinatown is a 9 out of 10. So Chinatown. So there we go, guys. What do you think? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know down in the comments what you think. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.